Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. So, something a little bit different today. This is my good friend's 1990 Suzuki GSXR750 Slingshot. I'm really sorry about the background noise. I'm in a busy part of town. But I'm just at his garage and he gave me this bike to have a ride on and maybe do a little review. He's owned the bike a while, and we always had the understanding that if he ever came to sell the bike, he would give me a shout. So, but that's not what this is about. This is about just doing the review of the bike itself. But unfortunately, had a few problems with the bike. But we'll get into that. So when I was growing up and I was like a teenager, preteen, this is the bike that was on my wall. So it was the late 80s going into the 90s. I was a young teenager, and there was a store local to me called, what was it called? I think it was called Frontiers. And they had loads of bikes, and I was just getting into motorcycling and looking at it, and I was watching Kevin Schwantz. Kevin Schwantz just absolutely captivated me. The RGV 500 motorcycles, the two-strokes, they just absolutely blew my mind. And I think Kevin Schwantz, as a young guy with so much flair, riding flair, so much fun, enthusiasm, it was like a breath of fresh air. And so, yeah, totally captivated by Suzuki, because I was a big fan of Suzuki, but mostly Kevin Schwantz and his riding style. And I think I'm one of many people that Kevin Schwantz is inspired as a rider. Now, he didn't win everything. He obviously is a 500cc MotoGP Grand Prix champion, but it's just his character and the way he was. But needless to say, Suzuki were revolutionizing the bike industry at the time. The 750 precursor to this, I think it's called the slab side, that came out, I think, around 84, 85. And that was the first time, I think, sports bikes literally looked like something that you could get off a racetrack. It literally came off the racetrack. And that is what sports bikes were about at the time. And it just sort of captivated everyone's imagination and mind. And a young me as well. So I was super stoked to see these bikes outside. When you came across some of these bikes in the wild, because they looked so extreme, it was just mesmerizing for a young person, and no motorcycles looked like this. So if you saw these bikes in the wild, it was like coming across an exotic thing. Even though it's a Japanese motorcycle and they're quite common really, but actually not really out there. When you saw motorcycles of the day, you would see choppers, you would see upright bikes, you would see what we call naked bikes now, no fairing, single headlight. But this was something different. It looked like something that just finished the Bol d'Or or the 24 Hours of Le Mans endurance race. It was something incredible. So this bike was these things were incredible. So when this came out, I think they came out in 88. So I think just coinciding with Schwantz's victory, Kevin Schwantz won the Grand Prix 500 title in 1993, I believe. But these came out, I think, in 88, 89. And so that it was kind of like on his ascension. Yeah, young me, 1990, I was looking at these bikes, and there was a black and red one, a red and white one, a blue and white one, and this black and silver one. Now, different countries got different colors. This is an American-spec color. I believe this bike is from America. But me, personally, I was absolutely enthralled by everyone wanted the blue and white, but I just loved the black and red and the black, because it just looked mean. So my mate's got this bike, and I've always wanted to have a go on it and just see what it was like. As you know, if you've been watching the other videos, I talk about legendary motorcycles, and this is one of them. This bike, when it was new, it produced between 112 and 115 brake horsepower, and it produced about 57 foot-pounds of torque, which at the time was pretty substantial for a 750 for any of these types of bikes. So it was, and also the design of the bike. The design of the bike was sporting in nature. The design of the bike was incredible. It's something that could corner and handle, and so it would leave other bikes in the dust. So the other day, I tried to take this bike out, and unfortunately, he hasn't run it for a while, and it was idling and running, but unfortunately, when I got it going, it was cutting out. It was like it was being starved of fuel, and I managed to get about a couple of miles up the road, and it just totally conked out on me. And I ended up in this hot weather. Now, I shouldn't complain about hot weather because we're in the UK, but because we're lucky to have it. I had to push it all the way back from wherever I was, down the street, back to here. Unfortunately, I was wearing all my gear, so I had nowhere to put it, so I had to keep all my gear on, open all the vents, and just hoof this bike back to home base. So it was quite a difficult first foray into the bike. So what I'm hoping to do, I've run out of time actually because I'm flying back to the UAE. I was going to fix it for him, and I think he's making signs that he wants to let me have it. But one, I don't have the money to buy this bike, but two, it's broken. So let's try and fix it first, and we'll have maybe we could have a fair deal or something, I don't know. But I think he's ready to move on from the bike as a custodian. But let me tell you, so when I first rode the bike, what I felt like initially, so first impressions, difficult. Ergonomics are very, very different to modern motorcycles. Pegs are super high. Like, they feel even higher than a Ducati 750 SS I once had. I'll put a picture up of that. Pegs are really high. Seat is very low. You're really inside the bike. And that was like a really weird feeling. It almost felt like how I'm sitting on this stool with, you know, like, it's really strange. There's a little bit of a stretch to the bars, and the bars are very narrow and tucked in. So I'm used to riding an R1 on track and the bars are out, but I think that's a modern thing. The bars are out for leverage. So if I was going to modify this bike, should I modify it? I'd move the bars out a bit more for leverage. I may choose to lower these foot pegs, but again, I'm not sure if I'd do that anyway, rear sets or something. And I'd think about putting some more padding on the seat, like having a custom seat made, so it would maybe getting another seat completely, so it wouldn't ruin this one, and then just having it straight. So it would raise me up a bit as well. So I'd be really more on top of the bike. I don't know how it would change the bike's riding, but that's something I thought that I would do, and maybe raise the rear suspension. I'd raise the rear suspension up a bit, just so it's more on the nose, just because it feels like you're sort of like chopper style, you're sort of sitting back and up. So it's a bit strange. So I'd probably raise that up and then do something like that. But I'm not sure if that's a worthwhile endeavor, or just leave it stock and enjoy it for what it is. But I'm getting ahead of myself because I haven't bought the bike, but I'm going to help him fix it. I'm going to do that when I next come back to the UK. I ran some things through AI, as you do, and just to ask how, you know, what I could do. And it says it's probably a vacuum leak, poor fuel supply, maybe a clogged jet or something, that it's not starting up. So it's pretty, there's a few things to go through with it, but I don't have the time today. I'm actually flying today. So, but I'm looking forward to it. This bike is beautiful, honestly. Condition is probably a good 6 or 7 out of 10. 10 out of 10 being factory spec. It's clean, but it's not perfect. There's a few blemishes, age-related stuff. It's done 16,000 miles from new, apparently. Engine and everything looks really good condition, nothing broken. Overall, the bike's condition suggests that it might be real, that mileage might be real. It's from America, there's no records with it, but it looks pretty decent. I think he paid more than he should have, but I think these bikes are going to go up in value, so we'll see. Let me show you around the bike and we'll have a proper look at it. What do you say? But this is coming soon, so wish me luck in trying to fix this one. And here we are. Let's have a look around this bike. You can see it's quite clean. It's got the Mikuni carburettors made in Japan. Love all that. Engine numbers clear. You can see the cases and everything's quite clean. No damage to the fins, nothing like that. A little bit of corrosion on the peg. A little bit of corrosion on the peg. Micron exhaust. This exhaust doesn't sound very good. Does not sound very good at all. It's very quiet. But yeah, it's a lovely thing. See this in an original tank. Got the Suzuki decals there. A little bit of, I don't know that's coming through. It's not rust, I hope. A few bubbles and stuff. Would be a shame to paint it, but wouldn't be adverse to it. Favourite bit of the bike? The front headlights. Look at that. Those front headlights, my favourite bit. It's got a leaky fork seal, you can see. So that needs to be done. And in fact, I was thinking about doing that myself. I looked online, I've seen how much they charge for it. It's not the money, it's just doing it myself would be really nice. Here we go. Front end of the bike. Just looks fantastic, doesn't it? There's the old Earl in the background. Beautiful. I think it's in really good condition. It could just be in a bit better condition in terms of cleanliness. I think it's had a chain and sprockets at some point. I would have chosen a gold sprocket. I don't know why. I think I'm going to leave this bike standard. I'm not going to do anything to it. Just going to rebuild the front forks. I've done, I zeroed it before I rode it. I've done 0.8. So I'm lying. Oh, no, I did that on the way back. So yeah, here it is. Turn it on. Choke. Give it some of that. Let's try. Never know our luck. Hold on, let me check if the fuel tap's on. Fuel tap looks all right. Oh, prime on. What's that say? It says PRI. And I think that bottom one says on. Right? That's PRI. I don't know what that means. And then, oh look. That's reserve. That's on. And the reserve is, let me put it onto reserve. Could it be that I just ran out of fuel? And I needed the reserve amount. Should we try it? Cannot smell any fuel. This was in this position. I think down is on. That's reserve. There's fuel in there. It's got fuel. Not a lot, but it has a fair amount. Ugh. That's closed. Why are you not starting? I can smell fuel. Right. Sorry about that. We'll have to sort that out. Remote. preload and compression damping. Well, no, that's compression damping. And that's the... That's the shock. Looks fairly clean. Just notice this is all painted silver. Has someone been at this with silver paint? Is this painted or is this polished? Looks painted. Is that dull? I'm gonna polish that up and see. I think that's just dull aluminium. Can't see any spray marks. It's got oil. Where's the frame number? That's odd. Ah, here, 1989, 11/1989. This looks painted. That looks painted. All right. Don't like that. That's all. If I was to own this bike, I'd take all this off. Polish it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What the hell's going on here? Got it running. I think this is user error. This is user error. Right, this is user error, I think. Let's go. Choke off. Right, so you see this petcock here. This is lets fuel into the system. I had it here. The fuel is low. It could have run out of fuel. That's why it's scuffering and spluttering. I looked on Google and it says if you run out of fuel or the floats are empty, you can put it on prime, which lets gravity feed the float bowls. You do it for 30 seconds, then start the engine and then move it to reserve immediately. And that's what I did. And the bike fired straight up and it's revving clean. Could be that I don't know how to operate an old bike. And that's very embarrassing, but I'm sharing my embarrassment with you because this is the first time I've seen something like this. The police are coming for me as we speak. Oh, they've passed me by. Okay, I think they've given me some respite. But yeah, that's what's wrong with it. I should have blooming learned how to use the bike. But I really feel like taking it for a ride now, but I can't afford to get stranded. So I'm going to put it in storage and wait till I get back, fix those forks, take it for a ride and give it a proper review. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope you can learn from my stupidity. So there you have it, the Suzuki GSX-R750 Slingshot. I'll be back in a couple of months and we'll go through it and try to make this a better bike, try and get it to run and then see if my friend is actually selling it or not. And if we can get a deal on it. Leaky fork seals. I think it's a good bike, just needs some TLC. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, please consider liking, subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.